Kronprinsessa, tack. I will not talk to you about Syria, although I am involved in it, just because I'm very much involved in Syria. But I will give you an experience, share with you an experience which did mark myself. And if you will see the message, it does have an impact on what we are doing also in Syria. So fly with me back. 1999. In the Balkans. At that time, Balkans was Syria, was Afghanistan, was Iraq. And we had a terrible war, civil wars taking place. Daytona had taken place, and the next step in the mosaicos of the tragedy was Kosovo. At that time, Milosevic had decided Kosovo should not become independent. But the Albanian majority wanted independence. So the result was a terrible forced migrations. Thousands and thousands of people were actually forced away. They were mostly women, children, elder people. The young men were kept because they were afraid once out they could become guerrilla or fighters. But not only forced away, they were actually taking away everything, their own identity. No wedding paper, no identity, no documents, no house, no buildings of any paper saying you belong to a village or you belong to any community. Just the identity away. And crowds of them were coming. Crowds were coming to Albania, to a place called Kukës, or to Macedonia. 300,000 came to Albania. 1 million of them were destabilized, either becoming IDPs, internal displaced, or refugees. The world was shocked. They didn't know how to handle it. It was too much at the same time. And that was the purpose, to pressure the whole international community. So camps of refugees were established all around this place, Kukës. So I was sent there by the Secretary General to help UNHCR, which was literally overwhelmed by this. And we had prepared a special meeting point, waiting for the crowds. There were waves of them coming on foot, walking slowly, and had almost like a chain of reception. And the chain was, first of all, hot milk with honey, hot tea, and then a medical checkup, and then a blanket, and then immediately afterwards to a refugee camp. And there were thousands, almost 10,000 per day. But there was a new surprise. Suddenly I discovered that, in fact, up there in the hill, just along the road, we had a road of 750 meters that was no man's land between the border and us. And we were waiting with our chain of support. But up there were snipers, 2 or 3 of them. I was watching them, and I could see they were aiming in front of the crowd which was coming. And the message was, you can't be safe. You will have terror until the last moment. And we will scare you, and we will make you feel that you didn't make it. So I decided to change the approach. I was wearing always the same dress, the same shirt, the blue UN beret. The snipers were recognizing me. I was a UN official. Shooting at me would have made a big news. So I decided every time that we saw a new arrival, I would walk across towards the no man's land, and then open my arms and wait. They would see there was someone strange in the middle of the road was actually welcoming them, and the others were waiting. And when the first, usually a woman or a man, old, not young, because the young were kept, they would be a little bit suspicious, but the snipers were not shooting, and then I would hug them, and hug them for almost a minute, and try to tell them in German, in English, or in Albanian at the time, welcome, you almost made it, come with me, come, walk, you almost did it. Well, we did it for almost a week. I was exhausted, and my colleagues too. I had embraced hundreds of people by that time. And it was exhausting because it was also emotionally feeling how cruel all this was. And one evening, it was sunset almost, my colleague tells me, Staffan, titta, look. And suddenly I take my binocular and I see in the middle of the road, walking very slowly, an elder gentleman and a woman, his wife, only two. He was dressed in his best dress, black, like farmers have when they go to the mosque or to the church, and he had a stock stick, and he had very thick glasses, and walking slowly with a bag pulling, and his wife was close to him, dressed in the national dress, which is again the one she had, the best she could carry with. And I saw them, and I saw on the sun, it was sunset, the blinking of the guns. They were probably starting to aim. So this time I rushed towards them and actually stopped again and waited. He looked at me and couldn't see and understand what it was. And when he finally came close, I hugged him strongly. And he cried. And he cried and said in German, because he had worked in Germany, I am so ashamed. I'm so ashamed I'm just an old man. An old man which has no future. My sons are in the back. I could do nothing. They didn't even want to keep me. And here I am, and crying. I took him by hand. I brought him with his wife. He had a problem on his leg, and we then gave him the milk, and then medical care, a blanket, and he went to the refugee camp. Few weeks passed by, and finally, like often too late, the international community reacted. It was too much. It was too outrageous. And finally, the Milosevic troops withdrew. And the refugees, which were scattered all over the camps, in several camps, and had lost, they didn't know where they are. Children, they separated from the mothers. Anyone was just where there was a place, and not according to a logic, started moving back. And you know what? The first village which actually returned was the village of Fatmir, the old man. Why? Because he had an historical memory. Because he was old. He knew everybody. He knew who was the wife, the daughter, the sister. They knew where they were. And he and his wife had gone in each of the camps and actually recognized them. So he proudly was the first one to lead his own village intact, returning back home. So the message I got, and I want to share, is the following. Fatmir taught me that a hug makes a big difference. It doesn't need to be physical. It can be also a word, a sign of hope. People need to feel it when they are in a siege, when they are abandoned, when people believe that they don't deserve hope. And second, it's important to give food, medicine, a blanket. But the worst thing that a person can actually lose is his dignity. And the best thing we can give is dignity.